Hello everyone, welcome back to day 11 of our 2-week-long California road trip. If you missed the last episode, we just got to the point in the road trip that I'd personally consider to be Northern California. Lake Tahoe is absolutely stunning, but at some point we did run out of things to do since May isn't exactly the best time to head to the area. That's why we decided to drive up to Lassen Volcanic National Park a day early. This remote gem of California is one of the state's least visited national parks, but it's incredibly scenic and deserves so much more recognition in my opinion. And that's without mentioning that we could only visit a select few attractions. Let me explain.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is May 25th, 2022. It's still a couple weeks until Lassen Volcanic National Park fully opens. But today I wanted to show you guys what you can do in the spring-winter season here at the park. Because the thing is that Lassen Volcanic National Park is made up of this giant highway, and it basically encompasses most of the park's signature attractions. This highway is often covered with snow because this is a very seasonal park. There's mountains everywhere, and it's crazy. It's awesome. But it just means that because of the timing that we're here, we have very, very limited options. We're starting here in the south of the park, then working our way up to the north, which right now, because the roadway is not open, you have to drive all the way around, which takes about an hour and a half.
Lassen Volcanic National Park contains a portion of the Volcanic Legacy Scenic Byway that's only open from June to October. This is the road that connects both sides of the park, and it gets absolutely packed with snow in the off-season. So if they were to plow it for tourists, they'd likely have to do it every week in the off-season. This just isn't worth it from the park's perspective if they're only going to get a handful of visitors in the spring or winter anyways. Not to mention that because most of the park's trails are situated at high elevations, they get absolutely covered by snow this time of year. But not all hope is lost. Lassen Volcanic National Park does give those visiting in the spring and winter a handful of options. Keep in mind that we visited in late May, so weather conditions may be different for you. Also, some years when the park gets a head start on plow work, the road might open early in late spring, but it isn't always reliable, so if you'd like to visit and see everything the park has to offer, plan a trip in the summer months or at the latest early autumn. During our visit, roads were plowed until the visitor center in the south of the park, and most of the rest of the byway was allowed for walking and biking. That means if you'd like to go hike Lassen Peak, the park's most popular trail, in the off-season, you can get there by foot, but it takes 6 miles on the side of the road one way. In other words, that's 12 miles round trip on top of the 5 miles and 2,000 feet of elevation gain it already takes to complete this hike. So yeah, no, but in the future when the scenic byway is open, I'd love to come back and do this hike as I hear it's one of the best in California's national parks. Although we didn't get to hike Lassen Peak itself, I would like to mention that it's one of the most unbelievably beautiful mountains I've seen in my life. Anyways, enough rambling. What we were off to do this evening was Sulfur Works. This is the park's only geothermal attraction open this time of year, and it's just a mile walk from the visitor center to get here. This hydrothermal area is an otherworldly place to see vibrant colors and scents. Many say it smells like rotten egg, but to me, it didn't smell bad at all. Sulfur Works is basically a vent for the last rumblings of a long-dead volcano, yet I can't get over the fact that it seems to always be bubbling and that the colors are just so unique. This isn't without mentioning that the environment it's in is absolutely incredible with snowy mountains at every corner. The park's scenery is amazing. Also, because of how unpopulated it is this time of year, I mean seriously, we were the only ones there, we saw half a dozen deer in this section alone. They were all so incredible to witness, especially because of how comfortable they seemed to be around us due to a complete lack of crowds. As the sun started to go down, it was time to head back to the visitor center parking lot and continue on the other side of the park. Since the Volcanic Legacy Scenic Byway is the only road connecting both sides of the park, you have to take a long detour to see both in the off-season. To get from the south entrance to the north entrance near Manzanita Lake, it was an hour 30-minute drive. Now I'm going to put a black screen here so that you guys know what it was like driving there via Lanes Valley Road and Wildcat Road. No streetlights, no service, no houses, no nothing. This was about as middle of nowhere that a road can be, and at nighttime I would not recommend doing it. But what's funny is that we probably over-exaggerated the heck out of it since it's totally paved and it's likely completely normal in the daytime. But with how twisty, turny, and narrow the road was with just the headlights of the car, it was a little scary to traverse. And I don't know if the name Wildcat Road is intentional, but we saw 2 large cats come out of nowhere and run across the road as fast as they could. Luckily, we made it just fine and woke up close to the north entrance of the park. Commonly referred to as the park's Manzanita Lake section, Lassen Volcanic National Park's northern part is the least affected by snow. We were able to do 2 fun hikes here, as well as drive a few miles on the scenic byway in the northern section that had previously opened a few days prior. Though to be honest, it doesn't add much hiking opportunity with that open, and it likely won't be open for any of you guys anyways if you're coming in the spring or winter. Our first hike of the day was the 2-mile loop trail around Manzanita Lake, which offers superb views of Lassen Peak and its reflection on the water. Not only are the views amazing, but the flora and fauna we saw were incredible. We saw some colorful plant life, many Canadian geese, baby ducklings, chipmunks, and the list goes on. Though to be honest, I'm not sure where the trail dumped us off because we ended up crossing 2 streams in our waterproof hiking boots to get back to our vehicle. The trail is supposedly a loop though, so I'm sure there's a very obvious path that was just covered in pine cones or something. Just down the road was a tiny parking lot for our second hike of the day, the Crags Trail. This moderate 4-mile out and back trail takes 1,000 feet of elevation gain and has lots of fallen trees during the hike. It can be a little hard to follow, and there also really isn't a whole lot of scenery change for the first 1 1/4 mile. But after that, the trees start to open up and you get some absolutely awesome views of the snow-capped mountains and tree-covered hills. Plus, the ground is all made up of rocks, likely volcanic rock if I had to take a guess, so that silver color was a very unique contrast to the lush greenery. In no time, you'll make it to Crags, which for those of you less informed, a crag is a steep, rugged cliff or rock face. The Crags looked absolutely amazing, and the snow all around them only added to the beauty. Now, it's to my knowledge that there's usually a lake at the base of Crags called Chaos Lake, but when we visited, it was dried up and it doesn't like to appear until after all the snow melt is collected in the summer. But nonetheless, this hike was a great option considering how little of the park was accessible.
You better get back. I will throw this snowball. Don't you do it. Terrible aim, but that's okay.
Now, as I wrap up the video, I want to throw out there that Lassen Volcanic National Park is a sight to behold. The landscape, the mountains, the trees, and the wildlife are all so admirable, even with very little of the park's trails available. So is it still worth stopping by in the off-season? I'd say so, as long as you're willing to drive a bit of ways to get from one end of the park to the other. Now, is it a wise decision to wait to visit the park until the summer? Absolutely. If what we experienced in the park was this exciting, I can only imagine how genuinely underrated the rest of Lassen Volcanic's hiking and scenery truly is. Experiences like the Lassen Peak Trail, Bump as Hell, Cinder Cone, and Devil's Kitchen are must-do attractions that my brother and I will be back for. Lassen Volcanic National Park may get little visitors, but don't underestimate this hidden beauty. With everything open, I believe that this place has the potential to be one of California's best national parks. Until I return, thanks for watching my video from Lassen Volcanic National Park. I hope I've helped you figure out whether or not it's worth visiting in the spring or winter, and if so, what you'll be able to do while in the park. Be sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe, as day 12 of the road trip will be coming in just a few short days. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you very soon. Bye guys.